The ET Edge GCC Summit Delhi Edition 2024, an opportunity of leaders, policymakers and stakeholders to explore opportunities and challenges, spotlighting Delhi as a GCC innovation and excellence hub. The event opened with a special address by Ajit Nayak, Executive Vice President and Head India and Middle East HCL Tech.
We really didn't realize, the entire industry, the country didn't realize that captives business, how it got converted into GIC business, global in-source center business. But still, in GIC business also, I think what was happening is the enabling functions were getting outsourced. Some, I'm not saying important, not so important, but of course, not the strategic, not the technologically led work was happening in those era. And then I think just 5-7 years ago, people started realizing the importance of GCC, the capability which I think silently our country has been building over. In the last 1.5-2 years, the kind of technological excellences we are seeing across all the GCCs, that's something really stupendous. I think the world has not seen that. Especially, though it sounds like a buzzword, the AI, Gen AI, but there were, I think, doomsday sayer at some point of time saying that, this is a bubble which could bust, like the earlier bubbles have busted. But good part is, especially for the IT industry, for the global industry, and especially the global service provider like us, I think this is something which is going to stay for long because there are real use cases. So utilizing the Gen AI as well as the machine learning, and obviously there are other newer technologies which are coming on, the AR, VR and all. I think this is going to remain. So that's why India has a special edge because mainly it is all talent driven, it's skill driven, and our median age is, as we all know, it's 28, 29 years. And as they say that it's going to continue for another 30 years. So that's one area while India is on the advantageous positions. And the another thing which I would like to say is that especially the heritage service provider like us, that is HCL and our other service provider in India, we have done huge investments, not only in terms of the newer technology which we are talking about in the last couple of years. We have done this, we have done a lot of modernizations of global customers in the past. So we carry the huge experience which is going to help the GCCs and which is going to help the global companies to do all that they are looking as far as modernization is concerned, driving the automation, digitalization is concerned. So I think, it's a growing trend and I think it's going to remain for a long time to come.
This was followed by the inaugural panel discussion, A Blueprint for Success, Transforming India into the World's GCC Hub.
Saurabh, you're running operations for global corporations, you're running IT services for global corporations, you're running, product development, engineering services for global corporations, and you're at the forefront of AI and how it is going to disrupt all of this, right? So what are your thoughts, external, outside in and inside out, that you would like to share with?
As a service provider, we believe that the hybrid GCCs are here to stay. It will no longer be work from home, but it will be work from hometown. That's how we are seeing it. GCCs are now getting into tier 2, tier 3 cities, primarily because, due to the extreme urbanization, the Bangalore and the Silicon Valleys are getting completely crowded, and hence Coimbatore and Madurai are offering viable options both in terms of talent availability and the fact that a 1 lakh salary has a 60% saving potential in a smaller city compared to an urban. So in our opinion, while it does, the work from home does throw challenges around data privacy, data security, and that's where a service provider like ourselves will come in with a robust cybersec governance framework and help you guys walk the talk. GCC's role in the India's economic development is par excellence. As we speak, there are close to 1.6 million jobs created in this $50 billion industry, and it is envisaged that this number will go to 2 million jobs and $100 billion turnover. I think the way GCCs are catapulting India's economic growth is by giving an ecosystem of skilled labor to all the new engineering graduates who are coming in. They are getting absorbed by GCCs. Not only that, all GCCs are on the cutting edge of technology, doing path-breaking work in emerging areas like AI, blockchain, IoT, smart manufacturing. And these are really the skills which our workforce is absorbing and delivering the outcomes for GCCs. In addition to the lot of urbanization which is happening in the country, GCCs today are exploring tier 2, tier 3 cities. And as they set up shops there, India's economic development will further get progressed because the new infrastructure will improve, the employability of small-time locations and engineers will improve, and hence it will give a completely different impetus to the overall India's economic growth.
See, if you see over the last many years, GCCs from being an outpost to today are a very integral part of any enterprise, the global organization. And what we are seeing more and more is GCCs are taking ownership of big transformations. They're part of most of the strategic initiatives and often a lot of new ideas that are emerging from the GCCs. And to the extent that if you see, there's a fair amount of innovation that's starting to happen from the GCCs as well. And what that is helping GCCs drive is more visibility in the global organization, which in turn results in more opportunities for people in GCCs to participate. And I think they are able to build a global set of leaders who are helping, do a lot of other things for the organizations from the GCC. We see this trend continuing, and in fact, if you see the numbers itself, I think last 1 year we've seen 50 plus GCCs being set up in India. So that's almost one GCC per every week. And so the rate continues to be growing in terms of newer GCCs coming in. And we see more and more large as well as mid-sized organizations continuing to buy into the GCC journey. So I think what GCCs have done versus what they're expected to do in the future, we see a lot of value creation continue to drive that journey.
This was followed by a partner presentation by Sandeep Datta, Chief Practice Officer, Asia Pacific and Middle East Region, Fractal Analytics.
This has been the holy grail for medical science for many, many years. And this was solved by Google DeepMind in 2022. And they have predicted more than 200 million protein structures, really improving our knowledge of how living beings work. And they have down to the accuracy of a 1 atom. And therefore, it has officially been now called as a solved problem. So while I know that ChatGPT is great and GenAI, no way, I think it's fantastic. That's an amazing achievement. That is not all that AI does. AI does much more, and AI is solving some of the most complex problems for the world. And in fact, as we all occupy a world, maybe it's not India's problem, but largely the world's problem is that the population the working population is not increasing. The problems that we have to solve in healthcare, in climate, etc., are becoming more and more complex, and productivity is going down. It is technologies like AI which will be the future, hope for future for us.
I think there is a huge opportunity for GCCs to use emerging technologies, especially AI and Gen AI, to really go from capacity centers to capability centers, which I think is the ask that they have from their headquarters today. There is an opportunity to ensure that we get transformational breakthrough productivity in the work that GCCs do, leveraging the AI tools, and that means that everyone in the GCC needs to be trained on AI, on how to leverage it to become more effective and more productive. I think that's opportunity number one. Opportunity number two is to actually create an AI hub in the GCC, which can provide the solutions across all the parts of the enterprise. And this AI hub is not just about having people or teams that know AI, but creating solutions that go backwards from problems that the headquarters and other parts of the organization are trying to solve, creating those solutions, creating the accelerators powered by the teams that can implement. I think that's the opportunity ahead of GCCs.
This was followed by a panel discussion, GCCs in India, innovating locally, impacting globally.
India is the largest hub of startups, correct? And they're growing at a multi-fold percentage. And being from a fintech background, How do you think that GCCs are either leveraging or not leveraging the startup ecosystem to enhance their entire innovation value chain?
So we run a big program, a program called BIG, Business Innovation Group, from India, and that's a global group. That's the only group in India. And the CEO has given us a target to get the next $1 billion idea from that big program. So we carefully choose like ideas which are related to our business, can be attached to the rails as well as the governance of our company. It doesn't have to be, a very different from what we do, but has to be attached to that and has to generate revenue.
This was followed by a partner presentation by Abhishek Jain, Chief Commercial Officer, Airport Land Development, Delhi International Airport.
As a team, we are part of the GMR Group, which does all real estate developments across all our airports. That includes Delhi, Hyderabad, Goa, and going forward Vizag, which is called Bhogapuram. We first enable ecosystem developments. This is either in partnership with third-party developers or doing our own office developments and making sure that the master planning, master development, and the master operations of the whole ecosystem are taken at a level which is not focused on the building, but at a higher level. Like any industry, there are three key areas which need to be in place for the sector to grow, for the industry to grow. Talent, infrastructure, and an enabling environment, be it government policy or the industry environment. I think as infrastructure players, we are best placed to understand the nuances of the infrastructure which is required. India has gone through 2 waves of growth in this sector, starting from ITES, going to captives, and now GCC. And I think it's high time that we look at infrastructure from first principles, because the aspirations of people who are working in GCC industry, they now have global aspirations. And what we deliver to them as work environment offices has to be in line with the global currents.
This was followed by a panel discussion, Winning the War for Talent, GCC Strategies for Aligning Talent with Corporate Culture.
The big difference that we have seen over the last and I see after COVID almost as a different era, is the role of the HR business partner and the role of the recruiter is no longer just in that fit. As Nitin very rightly pointed out, talent is at the core of everything that we do. No products can be produced if there is no talent. No services can be delivered if there is no talent. And in spite of the huge number of graduates coming out in the market, the talent shortage is real.
This was followed by a trialogue, Space Matters, Adapting Real Estate Strategies for the GCC Advantage.
You guys are doing a lot of these real estate developments. We see the GCC sector booming across the country, right? In your opinion, and in any order, what role do you think real estate as a topic or as an experience plays, in terms of attracting and retaining talent?
Talent, capital, you need an enabling environment, and then you need infrastructure. We come from a background of infrastructure, so we understand while talent will take care of itself, and the enabling environment, I think the government has been very, very positive on all sectors. Because the value curve which has played out in this industry has moved away from a place where it was cost-driven. Right. I myself started my career in ITES industry.
This was followed by a partner presentation by Nitin Anand, Director, Axis Bank.
Indian GCC landscape is growing not only in numbers, but also in the complexities and strategic importance. Over the last 5 years, the Indian GCCs have evolved from pure traditional services to operate as transformational hubs, and they are incorporating into some of these critical functions into their systems.
This was followed by a panel discussion, The Digital Revolution, Transforming GCCs Through Advanced Data Centers and AI Technologies.
What are you seeing in the marketplace when it comes to data centers and how that is powering, use cases at companies?
Right now, this space is still evolving. We see right now, earlier being in the data center industry for almost 2 decades now, I've seen requirements where clients were looking for 3 kilowatt in a single rack. Now even 20 kilowatt looks less. People are talking about 50 kilowatt, 80 kilowatt. Now even people are talking about 120 kilowatt. To be honest, even as a data center operator who has all the skill set in the world, all types of cooling available, it has to stop somewhere.
In the same way, when it comes to service providers and GCC, there is no other choice. They have to make it part of core IT operations, and you can really make people or human. You can utilize human capital in a very different way, make them work on more productive stuff rather than working on the mundane task. But it's not just about the mundane task now. Also, lots of value-added tasks would be taken care by GenAI. That's why GenAI is not going, right?
Globally, almost 50% of GCCs are present in India. The primary reason for this being high quality manpower available, a good diverse locations available within India, and plus we produce almost 2.5 million engineering graduates every year. So these things actually contribute a lot why GCCs come to India. However, to keep continuing this, we see lots of changes in the way things are done. With generative AI and AI related technology, we need to make sure that colleges and institutions or even employer retrain their existing as well as new engineers who are joining in these organizations with latest technologies. Work from home should be adopted more aggressively to keep the cost down. Right now, if you see an employee may take a 20% cut to make sure that he stays in a tier 2 city and stays near to the family. So we need to make sure that we continue this trend, and we should even ask for more than 50%.
This was followed by our Experts Forum, The 3 Pillars of Global Success, a deep dive into international transactions, compliance and risk mitigation.
I guess for you also, as you're advising clients, I think one of the elements would come up is the entire regulation on data privacy now, because that's again becoming both an enabler as well as a deterrent for some of the things that you may want to do, right? So, how are you dealing? While saying that okay, we will have compliances and trainings is one thing, but how do you sort of put that into practice on a day-to-day basis? Because, like you said, in your case, you could have someone from California who will have a separate set of laws, a separate set of penalties. You could have. So how do you run the entire data protection story? Because that, for me, I think is one of the biggest issues for any work that you're going to do across borders, because it sort of varies by country.
Actually have a very prudent regulator, and we are governed by RBI, and RBI has put out a new policy for data privacy and confidentiality, and I think all the banks are gearing up for that. Unfortunately, like some of the other industries, we can't afford to go down. I mean, today there was a talk about Insta and Facebook, going down and some outage. But I'm saying it's people's money that we are kind of managing, right? And we just can't afford for that. And it's, like I said, it's good that as a central bank, all central banks, whether it's MAS for Singapore or RBI here, whenever they see any bank having, whether it's a local bank or an international bank, even a bank like DBS, which is very well known as a digital leader, I would say, when they had some snags, MAS didn't spare them and MAS went after them, and same with RBI here. So I think it keeps us on our toes, and it keeps client money and all GCC customers' money safe.
I think there are a number of factors which are going well for India in the GCC space. We produce more than 5 lakh engineering graduates every year. From the days when we developed our IT services companies and to now when we have the third largest unicorn base in the world, we now have an ecosystem of professionals who are very adept at the latest technologies. And that entire ecosystem of middle management, senior management, as well as freshers, it all comes together to provide a great talent pool for multinationals to set up their captive centers in India. There's also a trend where, especially after post-COVID, for certain niche skills in the OECD world, people are not finding talent. And for multinationals, if they have to scale up some of their deep tech practices, India provides a ready-made base for finding talent.
Also, the operating cost in India are anywhere between 50 to 60% lower than what the cost would be to set up a similar center in an OECD country. I spoke about talent, but the talent is not just high quality in India, it's also cheaper. Real estate is cheaper. So between real estate and talent, it all comes together for providing a significantly lower operating base. And finally, India has very good relations culturally, politically with the Western world. It's largely an English-speaking pool of talent. So a lot of multinationals find it very comforting to outsource work to a country which is culturally and politically very close to.
This was followed by a partner presentation by Chandan Gupta, Business Unit Head, Co-Location, WebWorks, Iron Mountain Data Center.
These are basic capacities all across. So we have a bigger campus in Mumbai. Mumbai boasts of more than 50% capacities in India. So we continue to see that surge in Mumbai capacity. So we have built a large campus in Mumbai, another large campus in Chennai, followed in NCR. We have a setup in Sector 63 in Noida, and followed by the Hyderabad, Bangalore setup, and we have a small facility in Pune as well. So this is one interesting thing we do, but whenever you come to our data center, we have seen more than 90% reduction in your internet bills because of the internet ecosystem in place. Most of the setup, most of your traffic can go through the private internet exchange based, and then you can reduce your bandwidth billing by as high as 90%.
This was followed by a felicitation ceremony honoring leaders in diverse sectors. Airbnb Global Capability Center was felicitated as impactful GCCs of India. The next brand to be felicitated as impactful GCCs of India was AXA XL. Barclays was felicitated as impactful GCCs of India. Macquarie Global Services was felicitated as the AS Impactful GCCs of India. The next brand to be felicitated as impactful GCCs of India was Nokia Solutions and Networks India. Samsung Data Systems India was felicitated as the impactful GCCs of India. The ET Edge GCC Summit Delhi Edition 2024 culminated on high-voltage discussions, pride and a sense of achievement. Though the curtains came down, but the search for excellence by the Times Group will go on.